Hi everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me today. The storms and rain has finally stopped. Despite the damage and discomfort, you can be assured of the best wildflower display in spring. That is the given after such heavy rains in winter. However, and this is the truth, we have a river and a branch or two of the river running slap bang through town. Most of the time, that river is just a trickle or only sand. But for hundreds and hundreds of years, well, I'm exaggerating because the town is only roughly 180 years old, but every time it rains more than 2 drops, the side roads linking the east and west, north and south of town are underwater. They call it low water bridges. Bridges, my shiny backside. Most of it are nothing more than dips in the road. So after a bit of rain, all these roads are closed except for one. And why? Because it has a bridge. Now, this particular road with the bridge is thus the only link Dragon Man and his friends who live on our side of town have with their school. Imagine the traffic. On a normal morning it takes about 10 minutes, just under or just over, depending on traffic, to get him to school. It took my daughter an hour to school and back this morning. Now I ask you, the Chinese can demolish and erect a new bridge in 43 hours. My people cannot erect a bridge in 180 years. Anyway, like a real Marie Antoinette, just call me Marie Bouquet, I say, let them swim. Anyway, guys, I'll get to Archie's birthday pick and Andrew's run-in with death, Okay, listen, I'm being sarcastic, just in case you were wondering. But before I get to that, I had the weirdest feeling of, let's call it déjà vu, but it wasn't really, okay? I did a video for my members yesterday, and in the video I spoke about how a case dwindles and dies when bullshit starts to rain. When there's nothing new on a case and people start to make things up purely to have something to say. And I actually said, I hope it does not happen with the Nancy Guthrie case. I also commented on a newspaper article I read earlier in the morning, and in the comment I addressed some wild speculations which had just popped up. So somehow I feel I have to spread the word before the Nancy Guthrie case also goes the way the Summer Wells case and the Sebastian Rogers case and so many others have gone. Now, poor Brian Enton had an interview for News Nation with Dr. Brucato, a Dr. Burgess, and someone else. I did not even go check. And the only one I really know from YouTube is indeed Dr. Brucato. And it also appeared that he was the only one who was indeed sober. I have, in my entire life, not heard such hogwash from supposedly normal people, never mind learned people. Goodness, no wonder some people remain missing. I wouldn't want to come back either. The woman speculated on everything from drugs, you heard me right, to the perpetrator being dead. Now look, the guy behind the counter where I bought bread yesterday could be dead today. Okay, me, you, anyone can be here today, gone tomorrow. But to actually put it forward as a hypothesis surrounding the perpetrator of a crime, if you know less than nothing about who it could have been, it's just plain bizarre. It's like she tried to say that because the guy didn't come walking up to law enforcement and say, "Hey, here I am, I took Nancy Guthrie, he must be dead." Really? Anyway. And then the drug thing. Small-time drug dealer or user. I mean, man, oh man. For all we know, the person could have been the local pastor. Really? What came out of those two women's mouths were just strange, bizarre, and quite frankly, ridiculous. No wonder Brian Inton's face in the dark corner grew smaller and smaller and smaller. Poor guy. He could not be rude, you know. He had to stick around until the end of the interview. Shame. Anyway, so I thought, okay, Bookie, put your money where your mouth is and say what you think. Well, I am going to say what I said in a rather lengthy post on News Nation's YouTube channel. I agree that there were likely two people at Nancy's house that night, one inside and one outside. The one outside being maybe a lookout of sorts. Okay, so a couple of things. The Tucson area and the area where Nancy lived is indeed very similar to where we live. And the reason why I think the person rubbed the plants over the camera is because plants in these traditionally dry areas tend to store water, and I think he intended to rub sap over the lens, or he thought he could somehow position the leaves over the lens. But it did not work. Whatever he tried to do, it did not work. So he ripped the camera off the wall. The firearm. Now, that is indeed very, very interesting. I mean, really, geez, these experts think they are more intelligent than Google. If only they would use Google a little, they could learn so much more, because I indeed learned something. Carrying a firearm in front, like this guy, could be a form of what is called the Mexican carry. But in the Mexican carry, they actually stick the firearm in the belt of their pants. But these gangsters are not the only ones. There are other concealed carry and plainclothes officers who would carry the firearm in front, although not dangling like that, okay? But it is sometimes worn like that by persons, be it security personnel or guards or policemen, who actually drive a lot. The firearm is right there, and they do not have the risk of a sleeve catching on a gear lever or struggling to find the firearm under layers of clothing. Many, or most, would, however, move the firearm back to their side when they get out of the vehicle. So maybe this bloke was in the habit of carrying it in front when he's driving and moving it to his side when he gets out of his vehicle, and he forgot to do that. Now, the person on the camera is also likely left-handed. How do I know that? Simple. Because of the direction of the pistol grip. The only alternative to that is that the person did not grow up with guns, likely never owned one, and does not use one regularly. A complete novice. It's either one or the other. Now, we are talking guy, bloke, when in reality there is really absolutely no reason why we should even believe it is a man. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, but take a woman and put her in a couple of layers of clothing, and she's not going to look or walk any differently from this guy or person. I also took this particular photograph from an Inside Edition video where the black and white image was reversed through some technique to show a bit of color. Now, it may just be my imagination, but the eyebrows look thin. The person looks like he or she has smudges of mascara around the eyes, or then maybe just dark lashes and shadow. But it does look as if there's some kind of shading around the eyes. The so-called moustache does not even look real. It could be shadow, or the person could have colored their top lip to look like a moustache. I also do not agree with the experts that the person on camera is cold and unbothered. He or she looks like they do not know what to do, and looking at the eyes look sad and as if the person had cried a short while before. The feet are no larger than a size 9. If I look at it on those terracotta tiles, okay? Lastly, it is almost, even in the strictly black and white images, it really almost looks like the person is wearing lipstick. But if the experts are indeed saying it is a man, I'm not going to argue because I'm not sure. The person at the door, let's say it is a man, puts the flashlight in his mouth. Now, who does that routinely? Tradespeople, people who needs both hands to work in dark places. People like plumbers, electricians, mechanics are only but a few I can think of. Now, I totally disagree with Brian Enton's guests when it comes to work. They said this bloke, or one of the two, not sure whether they meant the main bloke or his lackey or accomplice, but according to them, he does not work. Maybe part-time work, they say, but not permanent. I 100% disagree. Investigators were recently looking for additional footage for January the 11th, January the 24th, and the weekend from the 31st to the 1st of February. For Sunday, January the 11th, they wanted footage specifically between 9 p.m. and midnight. January 24th was a Saturday, Then on Saturday, January the 31st, throughout the day, particularly 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That was the footage they were specifically looking for. And then, of course, the early morning hours of February the 1st, when the incident occurred. So, Sunday night into Monday morning. Now, if you go and look on the calendar, those are all weekends. Now, if he was scoping out the house, it may have been better if he did so during the week, when many people were actually at work, but he didn't. He, or she, or it, okay, was likely at work himself or herself. Maybe his family would have found it odd if he suddenly started going out at 9 p.m. on a weekday. But over weekends, it may be a regular thing for him to go for a beer or to watch football with friends, or maybe he plays football or has band practice, or, who knows. But I think the person does work. And I do think that he is not stupid. And I'm not talking about the person who planned the whole thing. The other reason why I think there were two people is because something obviously happened to Nancy on that front veranda. Now, we don't exactly know what, but she coughed up blood. Now, I do not think someone sprayed her blood with a syringe or whatever stupid story. I think Nancy initially left the house willingly. Maybe the bloke inside wanted her to go to the bank and draw money for them, or, something like that. But she knew that once she got into the car, it was likely over for her. So she made a move once outside. Maybe she pulled a balaclava off or something, and the guy backhanded her through the face, or even hit her with a fist or a blunt object. I mean, I've no idea. But she went down on her hands and knees and coughed up blood. Now, as there is allegedly only one other blood drop, other than those on the veranda, one near or on the driveway, it is likely Nancy was carried to a vehicle. I think if she walked herself, there would have been more blood along the driveway. Nancy was not a tiny, petite woman. She was 5'5" and weighed 150 pounds. Now, I'm an inch and a half taller. I'm almost 5'7", so let's make it 5'6.5". And I weigh the same as Nancy. We are not exactly featherweights. If Nancy was struggling, or if she was unconscious, or, God forbid, deceased, one man would have had a very, very hard time carrying her. I can tell you for certain that the person on the veranda could not have done so. So the only way he would have been able to move her from the veranda to the vehicle would be to drag her, and there are no drag marks. Also, while we are talking about height and weight, part of the description says the person on the veranda, the one on camera, is 5'9" to 5'11", size 9 to 11 shoe, and weighs about 200 pounds. Now, I don't think so. I think the person could have been wearing 2 or 3 layers of clothing. The movements, especially around the upper torso and arms, appear stiff, and when he lifts his hand, you can see at least a long-sleeved shirt, a light-colored cardigan, jersey or jumper of sorts, and then the jacket. I personally think you can deduct a good 20 to 30 pounds, if not more, from the description. I also do not think that this was aimed at Savannah. This was personal and specific to Nancy. Savannah lives with her husband, Michael Feldman, and 2 children in an $11 million townhouse in Brooklyn Heights, New York. She or they also own a property in Hudson Valley. That is honestly more than 2,000 miles away from Tucson and on the opposite side of the country. Savannah's children are 11 and 9, and her husband is independently wealthy. It is my opinion that Nancy's disappearance has nothing to do with Savannah. It is my opinion that if Savannah was the target of anger, hatred, or revenge, the perpetrators would have acted closer to home. God forbid, would have taken one of her children. This appears to be someone closer to Nancy and closer to home. This does not appear to be a burglary gone wrong either. If it was a burglary, the burglars would have taken what they wanted anyway. With Nancy out of the way, they had until daybreak to find what they wanted. To me, this appears to be about money. Somebody was angry at Nancy about money. Someone she knows maybe asked her for money, maybe a loan or investment, and she said no. The person lost the investment opportunity or the object they desired, maybe a vehicle or whatever, and I think they went to her home to ask her for money or to threaten her. Okay? I think she recognized at least one of the people, maybe the one waiting outside, because clearly she was hurt outside and not inside, as the blood is outside, and there's no talk of any blood inside. Nancy could even have grabbed at this person's balaclava and pulled it off. Who knows? Or she recognized the person anyway. What I find strange is the map Annie Guthrie gave police. Why would she even think she knew which direction the getaway vehicle went? That is a very strange one. Anyway, I think this case is highly solvable, as the pool of people around Nancy is indeed relatively small, even if and when you include, say, contractors and maintenance people. So, yeah, there you go. I think if everyone should just calm down and not come up with some ridiculous fairy tales, this case may very well be solved before the year is over. Let's all hope and pray that is the case. The sooner the better for the family. Okay guys, that's it. In my next one, I will be talking to you about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his near-death experience. Okay guys, see you there. Bye.